Hey everybody, welcome to That Expert Show, where you help run the show. I'm Anna Canzano. Thanks so much for being with us. Our topic today is RV living. I have been so curious about this. A lot of my friends are talking about it. It's part of a whole big movement that involves tiny house living, RV living, and foregoing the traditional lifestyle of having a home, having a mortgage, and raising your kids in a normal neighborhood. It's really fascinating to, watch what people are doing and how they're chronicling their lives. People who have decided to live full time in an RV. Maybe this is something that you've thought about or dreamt about. Maybe just, delving into the RV world is something that you want to just dip your toe into when it comes to family vacations. But our guests today are Hippie and the Tech, Mel and Tony Flamia. Mel is an artist, a photographer, and a writer. Tony is an audio engineer, and they've been together for 10 years, married for 7. They have 2 kids. They sold pretty much everything they own and decided to go take their life on the road together. It's been, there's been challenges along the way, which we'll talk with them about, but they have found quickly that living the traditional lifestyle, they were always concerned about the destination, and the road life is all about the journey. I think you'll be very inspired by what they have to say. I know I have been. Joining us live from Athens, Texas is the tech part of Hippie and the Tech, Tony Flamia. Thank you so much, Tony, for being with us.
Hi, Anna. Thanks for having us.
So I know that you said that Mel has taken the kids to the grocery store so that you can do the interview without much interruption. But maybe if we're lucky, we'll see her pop in at some point in the interview. I am so curious about what this decision, was like for you, how it came about, and why you guys decided to make this big leap.
Well, that's a great question. Really, I was working a job where I was gone all the time. So I was traveling across the country as an audio engineer, and I was never home. So it got to the point to where my kids would have an anxiety attack if I went to a CVS. It's like, nope, don't worry, Daddy will be right back. And it just got to the point where the traditional lifestyle wasn't working for us. So what we decided to do was sell the house, sell everything else, and we jumped in RV, and they've been following me around the country now as I do my job regularly.
And how many years now have you been living in an RV full time?
It's been a little over a year now, full time.
Wow. I can imagine what that would be like. The first thing that comes to mind is just whether you guys get sick of each other. I mean, because one of the benefits of having a house is you can all sort of retreat to your individual spaces. Is that more difficult in an RV, and what does that do with the family dynamic?
Right. Well, I mean, from the outside looking in, you would automatically assume that. And really what happens is it forces you to fix issues quicker than you normally would. Because if you have a big house, one person goes to one side, the other person goes to the other side of the house, and you kind of have the ability to ignore it. Well, when you live in 200 square feet, there is no slamming doors. There is no, because the kids are there too, so you can't really fight in front of each other either. So it really forces you to handle your differences immediately and differently, because you got little eyes watching you. So for us, it's actually helped our marriage in that aspect.
That would be very interesting. And then now you homeschool the kids, right?
We do. Melissa homeschools them, and we do more of kind of an eclectic type feel. There's a bunch of different ways of doing homeschooling. There's unschooling. There's the traditional, what we call it, road schooling. But what we do is we're domiciling in Texas. So normally you have to domicile somewhere where you would have your driver's license. And depending on wherever state you're domiciled, that will determine what rules and regulations you have and what kind of reporting you're going to need to do for homeschooling. And Texas is one of the, I don't want to say easiest, but there's not as much reporting. For example, we're originally from Ohio, and that required us to keep logs, and we have to submit the logs at the end of the year. So that's why we're moving to Texas.
Interesting. When I told my husband the topic, his first question was, do you ever feel judged? Like when you pull up to a grocery store or wherever you're going to like pick up supplies that you need to be on the road, do you feel people looking at you like, oh, look, there's the RV people? And how do you overcome that if that's the case?
Well, people don't really know we're full time because we don't have it, stamped on our RV or on our foreheads. So they might just think we're out on vacation and, really an RV that, we have a Class A RV. It's nice looking. So we don't feel necessarily judged, but we do have people asking questions, what does hippie in the tech mean? And we get to share our experience and we get to share our lifestyle with them. And usually towards the end of the conversation, they're thinking about, what wonder if I could do this. If we sold our house, we'd be able to live a lot smaller and be able to do all these things because, not to jump ahead, but when you live in a house, which there's nothing wrong with, I think it's great. You spend an entire year saving up for that week of vacation. When you live in an RV, you're basically traveling the country, being able to see different sites, see different cities every week. So you almost have a lifetime of vacations every year. I mean, it's a completely different lifestyle.
So you mentioned the difference in cost and cost of living. What is the average cost of living on the road?
That is the golden question, literally. Uh, you can do it two ways. You can buy a brand new RV, a brand new tow vehicle, which is what you would tow behind your RV if you have a Class A, Class B, or Class C. There's different motor homes. Or if you have a travel trailer, you can buy a $50,000 truck to pull your travel trailer or fifth wheel. If you bought all that brand new, it's not going to be less expensive. It's going to be more expensive than the traditional lifestyle because you still have to pay for RVs or RV parks. If you buy a used RV, which you can get relatively inexpensive because you can almost fix anything in your RV if you're handy enough, and you buy a used vehicle, if you can pay all that stuff off and then do this thing called boondocking, and that's where you go out and you live on public lands for free. So that's the whole other extreme where it's not costing you hardly anything. There's some more, there's some detail you got to get into as far as energy management, water management and stuff, but you can go from super expensive to hardly costing anything. It just depends on how you want to live.
And so, if you're on the road, and especially since you're a parent, you've got to take into account your kids and their health. How are you paying for health insurance, and how do you deal with healthcare situations when you're on this journey?
Right. Well, we have so we started this RV club called the Road Life Project, and within the Road Life Project, we have RV insurance, health insurance, tech finder. We have all the different pain points that you would come across being an RVer. We've kind of tackled every single one of those, and one of those were RV insurance. And so right now we have the only group health policy available through um, basically, a group policy has to be based on a group of something, right? So normally, if you go get a job, that's the group. For us, it's if you own an RV, you're part of our group, so you can become part of the group policy, and that's through the Road Life Project.
That's
The neat thing about
fascinating.
it, yeah, well, the neat thing about it, it's designed for RVers. So if you're out in Wisconsin somewhere, you can call up and find out where do I go for this procedure or where do I go for this? And if you need, just a basic prescription for a common cold or an ear infection, you can call up and tell a doc and they just send a prescription to CVS. So it's designed for somebody that's going to be out mobile.
So this is basically, I mean, you've been able to connect via social media. You've got a fantastic YouTube channel, and you're very, very active on Facebook. You've been able to connect with other people who are in your same situation, who were all looking for, who had this common need with health insurance that needed to be taken care of.
Absolutely. I mean, that's why we went after it. There wasn't anything in the market at the time. And within one of our groups, our full-time RV family life group, that was a question being asked every day. So we were like, okay, let's call some people. And we made a bunch of phone calls and we finally connected with a company that could create a policy that would fit this need.
That's fascinating. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about pets and kids as well. You talked about being a couple and what that is like, parenting on the road. What is the reality when it comes to, having the whole family living a full-time RV life, pets and kids included?
It's funny how easily everybody adapts. Our house was almost 4,000 square feet in Ohio. It was almost too big for 4 people. And then we jumped to just over 200 square feet. And we have a dog and a cat, and we used to have 2 birds too. But you kind of just adapt. The thing is when you live in an RV, it's all about experience. It's all about the journey. And most times what you're doing isn't inside. It's typically outside. We like hiking. We like going out and seeing new things. So we love the West, and we just went to the Devil's Arch, and we did a 7-mile hike there. We went to Moab. Everywhere you go, you find things to do, and you explore more than just sitting on your butt watching TV at home.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's say you're at square one and you want to pick a rig. You have a certain budget limit, I suppose. How do you pick the right rig for you cheaply, so that you're, not setting out on the road buried in debt?
Well, the first thing to do is not ask everybody you know, because it's funny how many different answers you're going to get, and it's going to get more and more confusing. What you want to do is go to a couple of RV lots and walk around and get a feel of the different types of manufacturers and their quality and different floor plans. It's really all about the floor plan. If you can live with a specific floor plan, everything else can be upgraded. My wife right now is painting the walls, and she's ripping trim down, and we're redoing everything. But the key is what is your end game? Do you want to end up living, not spending as much money? Because the last thing you want to do is buy a brand new RV and a brand new vehicle, because you're going to end up spending a lot more than you did at a house. So finding something used, something around the like the 2006 era, before the recession, things were built a little bit better around that time.
Mm-hmm.
So just really floor plan. If you can fit the floor plan, get it inspected by the NRVTA or NRVIA. That's a company that you can call. They have inspectors, and you get a certificate, and they you'll know if something is wrong. If you don't get it inspected, you're kind of rolling the dice.
So how are you, I'm curious, I mean, you said you were an audio engineer and you were traveling a lot for work, and Mel's a writer and photographer, an artist. So how are you finding work on the road? Like, how are you feeding yourselves and your kids?
Well, I work for a specific manufacturer, and they have me go out and do demos and work with dealers and all that stuff. So basically my schedule is it's with one company, and they send me out all over the place. And that's why we had to, sell our house and get into an RV, because I was gone all the time. It was either bring them or be gone. So that, the job is really conducive to the lifestyle, because basically I'm a traveling salesman. But there's other jobs out there that really work with this lifestyle. There's people that teach online. There's a lot of, well, I'll tell you what, there is a hole in the industry for certified RV techs. There's 500,000 new units going out every day, and thousands of people are going full time each year. And there's not a lot of RV techs out there. If you became an RV tech, you could easily make a great living on the road, living in your RV.
Just
a matter of fact, my wife is going to be going through the class in September.
Just building onto her skill set. That is awesome.
Yeah.
When I sit here and I look around our house and I think about all the stuff that we've acquired, I have a hard time imagining the ability to downsize to the point where everything that we would need would actually fit in an RV. Is there some strategy involved with that that you could suggest?
Yeah, yeah. Yard sales, and selling stuff online. It's a process. It really is. It took us about a month to sell everything we needed to fit in our RV. It was a lot. It was a lot of ads on Facebook, and But one of the things that we get a lot of questions about is how do I get my kids to let go of their toys? That's I don't mind getting rid of my stuff, but when the kids have to get rid of their stuff, it gets a little tougher. So what we did was we set up a little store for them during the yard sale. We gave them a little cash register, and they were able to keep the money from whatever they sold. So it was a little trick that basically got them to sell everything.
Interesting. And then how do you deal with like family disputes on the road? I know that you had talked about it's changed the way that you and your wife resolve conflict, but when it comes to your kids and dealing with the kids and when you're all in one space together, how do you handle that?
Well, I mean, it's no different than when you're in your house. I mean, we have a parental plan. We know who's um, they know who's in charge. We parent the way that we parent, and it wouldn't be any different than if we were at home. Um, the only difference is instead of going to your room, we say go to your bunk. you know.
And what is the percentage of nights that you spend at RV parks versus boondocking, which is what you said when you live on public lands and you're sort of internally powered?
Well, before we came to Athens, we were boondocking for I think 3 or 4 months prior to that, so we weren't going to any RV parks, and that's kind of the way we like it. I mean, RV parks are great. We love having connections. We're set up to where we don't have to. We have a really nice Battleborn battery bank, so we can stay. We keep the lights on for an extended period of time without being hooked up. We have a water, the way we handle our water, we have a water tank, and we also have water jugs, and we have a transfer pump. And,
Whoa,
um,
okay.
it's just, yeah, you kind of learn all that stuff as you go. We didn't know any of that when we first started,
Yeah.
but you find yourself a great community. And, that, I think that's one of the biggest differences between your bricks and sticks communities and the RV community. There's just so much love and so much support within this community because we're all out there, we're all like-minded, and we're all just trying to live life.
So forgive me, but how do you find that community? Because if you're traveling from place to place, how are you establishing connections with other people in a meaningful way?
I
And how
know,
are your
right?
kids, like as far as your kids' social network, how does that go?
I know it sounds crazy, but we have more friends now than we did before. When we had our house, we kind of were confined to that house. We didn't really go out and walk the neighborhood and kind of see what everybody's doing. When you're at an RV park, you kind of walk the park and you wave hi and you see what everybody's doing. You get invited to campfires, and um, it's just a different environment. Also online, there's a lot of great communities online. We have the Road Life Project, which is in a wonderful community. We have groups like Full-Time RV Family Life. We have Chasing Adventure, which is our adventure camper friends. A friend of mine has Full-Time RV Families, a bunch of great groups on Facebook. And, you just join those and you say hi, and you'll be surprised how welcomed you are.
The other question that I have, you mentioned boondock, and I want to get into that just a little bit further. How do you provide power for yourself over an extended period of time? You said you have a battery bank, and that keeps things powered up. So
Yeah.
basically, once you do get to a place where there's a power source, you charge up and you charge all of your batteries that will last you a certain period of time.
Well, it's not like a Tesla. It's more like, we have batteries that will last us about 28 hours of normal use. And then every day we have a onboard generator, and we also have a smaller portable generator. So of course, the smaller portable generator is going to use less gas, so we use that as much as possible. So once a day, we'll start the little portable generator, and it'll charge our batteries in about 2 hours, and we're good for another day. So every day we just charge them up a little bit. So the batteries, depending on how many you have, will tell you how many amp hours you have to burn through in a day. We have 300 amp hours of Battleborn batteries.
How long do you see yourself doing this? You've been at this a year.
I don't ever want to go back. Me and my wife, we talked about that because when the girls get older, of course, they're going to want to possibly maybe go stationary, which is fine. So basically, we'd be in the same type Class A or something, but maybe just pick a location that we love the most and hang out there. And when the kids graduate, Mel and I talked about even going smaller to like a Class B, which is like a transit van, and then it'll be like the hippie and the hippie at that point.
The hippie and the hippie. So right now you're still pretty much on the tech side of things. What is the thing that has surprised you the most about this decision to live this way?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think it's how big this country is and how different it is. We've gone from New York to California to New York to California almost 3 times already.
Wow.
And we've gone through, the middle of the country where you see just the most amazing it's not architectural, but it's like rock formations. And then we've been to it's just such a beautiful country. And had we not choose this lifestyle, we would have never seen half the stuff we've been to. And I think that's probably the most shocking thing is just how big this country is and how much it has to offer.
Yeah, that's true. It's an amazing way to see it on the road like that. When it comes to figuring out where to stay as you're traveling from place to place, I mean, that's a lot of planning. You've got to constantly be in planning mode for the next steps in your journey, I'm assuming. So how do you decide what locations to boondock or to hit an RV park or to lot dock? And, are there particular apps that you use or GPS systems that you would recommend?
This is a great question because when we first started, I would, this was actually a point of contention between me and my wife because I wanted to be planned out 6 months in advance. I was worried that, the parks wouldn't have space for us. And, I'd be like, honey, tonight's the night we're supposed to go over the calendar. And now it's like, hey, where you want to go? I don't know. All right, we'll go there and see what's there when we get there. It's all about the journey. Just enjoy every day. If there's an RV park that's full and you have to go to an RV park, there's another one down the road. There's so many RV parks out there. And we like, our personal favorite is a app called Campendium.
Campendium, okay.
Campendium, yep. And it's reviewer based. And you can go in there and say, I just want to see free camping. And that's going to show you all of your BLM lands, Bureau of Land Management, the boondock sites.
Okay.
And you can click on it on whichever site you want to go to, and there'll be reviews. If you see a review that says, this is full of homeless people, that might not be the stop that night.
Mm-hmm.
If the review is like, beautiful, we can't believe this place is free, that's the one you want to go to.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. And when it comes to you've got your RV and then you have your tow vehicle, which is like the vehicle that Mel will use to take the kids to the grocery store, where she is now.
Yep.
How do you decide on picking the right tow vehicle, and do you have any advice on that?
Oh, I didn't get a choice. My wife wanted a Jeep.
Okay.
So that's what we went and got.
Okay.
We didn't even get to shop for it. It's like, this is the one I want. And that's what we ended up getting. Jeeps are great because you can tow 4 wheels down without a dolly. Sometimes you'll see an RV drive by and there'll be a car on a 2-wheel dolly. It's, for me personally, I think a Jeep is just one of the easier things to pull. And then when you get out to some off-road terrain at some BLM land, it's kind of fun. There's really nowhere it can't go, just even stock. It's a little difficult when you're trying to tow a little car around and getting around the mountains.
And I mean, how far do you usually drive in a day, or how far would you recommend driving in a day?
Okay. So if you're in a car, or not a car, but if you're in a truck pulling a trailer, it's really up to you. I mean, and if you have kids, if it's just you and your spouse, you can probably knock out 4 or 5 hours, 6 hours maybe. If there's kids, you got to let them get out and stretch, especially if they're in car seats. For us, we live in a Class A, so usually 6 hours is the minimum. If we have to go a long distance, we've gone as far as 16 hours straight before
Wow.
because we had to get somewhere. That just requires a ton of espresso and Red Bull, but the kids, they're kind of comfortable, because it's relatively safe, and they go to sleep. And it's kind of like when I was on the road as a sound engineer. You slept in a bunk and then you show up at the next event.
Right. Interesting. Any last thoughts that you have for people that are thinking about this or just kind of want to dip their toe in when it comes to planning their next family vacation?
Yeah, I think just basing off the feedback we get from our groups, one of the biggest hangups is just fear. Fear is, something that can just, it is the biggest dream squasher out there. And if you could just build up the courage to go out and give it a shot, maybe rent an RV and take a weekend out and check it out and see if it's for you, I'd highly recommend that. But there is nothing else like the closeness and the togetherness you get when you take your family out on the road and live life intentionally.
I love it. Tony, thanks for inspiring us. Thanks for inspiring everyone out there. If you want to check out more of Tony and Mel's story, check out their YouTube page, like their Facebook page, Hippie and the Tech. They do a great job documenting their family's life on the road. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
And he shared a lot of great information. So we will be creating a tip sheet based on the strategies and the advice that he had to offer. We'll be posting that on the website, thatexpertshow.com. If you're on social media, give us a like on social media. I'm on Facebook at Anna Canzano, on Twitter and Instagram at That Expert Show. I know it's not always easy to catch something live, so we always post this interview on our YouTube channel, That Expert Show, and we kick this back out to you as a podcast as well. So whether you're on Apple iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, all those great places, Spotify, you can listen to us as a podcast and find those tip sheets in the show notes for those podcasts too. So drop me a line if you want. Tell me what you think and spread the word. You can always catch us live on thatexpertshow.com every Monday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. We are here for you. I would love your ideas on topics or interviews that you want to see here. We can make it happen. After all, it is That Expert Show where you help run the show.